What's good, YouTube? It's me, your voice Cody, back again with another video. I wanted to start making some deck profiles on some, I guess, non-tier decks, just because tier limits have obviously been dominating the format. So I came up with this Kozmo deck. Made it as well, tried to make it as competitive as I possibly could think of. Obviously, we're probably going to be sweating trying to topple YCS, but I think for the purpose of locals, maybe even regionals, I think it could do all right. I played a couple of games with it against decks in the meta game, like Flunder, the tier elements deck, obviously, and then as well as the cash tier deck. So this is a post Photon Hypernova, so it does have a couple of new cards here. As you can see, not a lot, but we are just taking advantage of some of the new cards that are coming out in the set. So yeah, without further ado, just diving in. As you can see, we're playing a bunch of hand traps just because I think the nice thing about Cosmos is that they obviously cannot be targeted, or at least Dark Destroyer can't. So pairing that with some hand traps and just keeping like this body as a castle on board and just beating down, I think it's all right in the meta game, especially with tier limits. It's kind of hard getting rid of a lot of monsters on the field without being able to target them. You can obviously destroy it by battle with Kaleido Heart boosted by a field spell, but that's about it. And then the other common out is Boguska, which is kind of a problem for this deck as well because all these monsters obviously get shifted to do defense mode. So we really only have one out in the form of Imperm for that. So that's kind of a concern as well, I would say. But other than that, what this deck kind of seeks to capitalize is simplify the game state and then just overwhelm the game with Cosmos, but being able to use tin cans end phase, pay 500 life points to reveal 3 Cosmo cards with different names, and then your opponent randomly picks one for you, so you're accumulating advantage and just beating them down, whittling down their resources. And obviously, it doesn't use a graveyard at all, so the Shizu Shufflers doesn't really matter, and then we are playing D-Shifter. And then decks that play D-Shifter we don't really care about because our deck is kind of taking advantage of the Banished. So yeah, 3 Ash, 3 Shifter, 3 Veiler, and then 2 Mourner. This is just like the generically good cards that are good in the metagame. Obviously, Ash is not that good against tier elements, but it still does a job. Like, it stops their effects for a turn. Things like Havness, obviously, on your turn, and maybe like a Sharon, just stunning them. Trading 1 for that turn for that name is still pretty good, I think. So, obviously, this is also very good against Plunders and decently good against Cash Carries. You're getting like 1-for-1 trade, so it's all right. Shifter obviously being very good against tier elements, and this deck can kind of take advantage of that. Doesn't really care if things are getting banished. And then Baylor being good against Flunders, as well as being good on the Kick Howlos. A lot of times it does stop their plays, especially if players are still playing one. I think people will start playing 2 Kalos moving forward, but still you're trading an effect Veiler for one of their names, essentially resolving to summon that Kick Kalos, so they have to burn another name to summon the same Kick Kalos if they want to use the effect to special summon and then mill 5. So that does make their end board a little weaker, and obviously it's very good against Flunders. Same with Ghost Mourner, good against Flunders again, or not Flunders, terrible against Flunders because it only works on special summon monsters, but it's good against tier elements. You can also use it on your turn. So if you're going for a proactive play, you can use it offensively when they react with something like Havness and try to mill. Castira Fenrir, this is just a generically good card that punishes a lot of setups in the metagame, obviously being able to banish cards on attack as well as when they use an effect. So this is very, very good against tier elements going first when they do have something like a Havness, and then on resolution you can actually banish a monster, whether that be the Kikalos that they summon, for example, if they happen to mill a name, or the Havness if they happen to whiff. And then being able to add another copy itself is always good. We are also playing Prime Planet Parasos, which is a new field spell card coming out in Photon Hypernova that allows you to add any cast tier monster from your deck to your hand on the activation. And then that just, is another copy of a field spell that pairs very well with set rotation and terraforming. Going to the Cosmos. 3 Cosmo Dark Destroyer. This is like the main guy in the deck. Didn't really want to play, the other ships that don't really do anything. Obviously, there's Dark Eclipser that's decent against trap decks, but we really want to take advantage of the fact that Dark Destroyer is an interruption in the form of a pop, as well as not being able to be targeted, and then when it is destroyed by card effects or by battle, we can't actually manage it to special summon another pilot. We have Slip Rider just as one of, removing back rows, 1 Cosmo Dark Lady as well to negate monster effects, which is very, very powerful given that it's a quick effect, so it works on your turn as well as your opponent's. Does kind of come at a steep price of 1,000 life points, which you kind of have to watch out for, especially going into time. This deck can be really, really painful because you're obviously paying life points to use a lot of your effects. 1 Farm Grow just because it is a psychic monster that you can special summon off of E-Tally, and then on certain plays with the Cosmo deck, you can actually use Dark Destroyer to pop itself, banish itself, because it can trigger when it's destroyed by your own effects as well. and then use that effect to special summon Farm Girl so we can get a poke in the battle phase, and then pay 500, add another copy of a Dark Destroyer, special summon it to pop something again, and then destroy something by battle or attack for 3k. Obviously, these cards are very old, so they're not once per turn. One Strawman. This has the effect to special summon a banished level 3 or lower Kozmo, or sorry, a banished Kozmo monster from your banished zone. So obviously it's very useful to special summon back a Dark Destroyer. The effect is negated, but this is very good in that you get another body on board. And then it's also a level 2, so it does go very well into Sprite Elf, which you can then revive the Strawman and then overlay them for the Gigantic Sprite. And then attack and main phase 2, make a downward into a 4 material Zeus. So that's kind of a cute play that you can do there with that monster. And then it also being a psychic just is more toolbox utility for your emergency teleport, as well as being able to make that 4 material Zeus play. Tin Can is the main pilot. This is a guy that you always more or less want to start your combos with. You want to see him as soon as possible. We do have essentially 6 copies with 3 Telly and then 3 Tin Can on top of cards like Pot of Extravagance. I'll let you choose dig deeper into your deck. And then you can pay 500 life points, reveal 3 Cosmo cards with different names from your deck, including cards like Cosmo Town, and then your opponent randomly picks one for you to add, and the rest goes to the graveyard. So this is your starter. You can add Dark Destroyer ideally, and then start popping off with your plays. So one thing that you might do going first is just like Dark Destroyer, probably something like a Dark Lady, and then maybe like a Slip Rider. So you have 2 out of 3 chance to get at least a disruption, and then 3rd chance to get a Slip Rider. That's decently good against non-tier decks, especially decks like Flunder. When they play map, you can just shotgun your effect to banish Tin Can, and then special summon Slip Rider and pop the map. And we're also playing 3 Nib. This is actually with the hand traps. I think it's just a very, very decent card in the metagame. Obviously, it sucks against Rukalos, and Rukalos is kind of scary for this deck. But being able to use this when they don't go to Rukalos play is decent against tier, and then against Sprite, they're always doing 5 summons before they get into Gigantic because they're playing cards like the Sprite Sprint, so they're always going on that play to dump the Angler to summon the 2 Beavers. And then this card is actually just dead against Flunders, unfortunately, but we have a lot of other cards to sort of hedge against that. And I think the Flunder matchup is decent. Obviously, they have some trouble getting rid of Dark Destroyer. They can use the effective Empen to have the attack and then crash by battle, but you're just floating more resources on the table. So the only time that would be good for them is if they are able to get a bear statue onto the field with the Empen, but we have a bunch of hand traps to prevent that. And then 3 Italy, best extender in the deck, summon any of the pilots that are psychics, level 3 or lower. Got 1 Cosmo Town, I think just 1. It's not that good. It's obviously a search target off of Tin Can, and then the only real reason why you want to play this is because you can pair it with Set Rotation and Terraforming, so you essentially have 3 copies more or less. And then this can also be popped by your own Slip Rider if you want to make a cute play where you want to add like a Cosmo card. And then 3 Imperm, so this is just generically good. Doesn't trigger things like Tactics or Tasking that's coming out in the next set, and just really versatile against the metagame. So I think this card is very, very powerful. Side deck, we're playing 1 Zombie World to pair with the Terraforming and the Set Rotation, so you essentially have 3 copies versus Flunder at any given time. We're playing the bunch of Beast Steals for tier limits, so my rationale behind that is just obviously siding out the hand traps that are not good against tier limits and then putting in the Visteals. So cards like Ash is just subpar, Valor's alright, but you might consider removing it, and then maybe the Nibiru's as well, and then just putting in these guys because they're a lot more effective against tier limits. And then Baldrake is a new one where you can actually, if your opponent special summons a Ritual Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, or Link, you contribute another light or dark monster, then target one of those summons monsters, banish it. So yeah, it's pretty busted. It has it's a lot better than Serenor. It has that hedge effect, which is kind of cool. Playing evenly as well. This is very good against a lot of the boards. Like Tier Limits is decent against. It's also decently good against the Cashier boards because they don't have any Omnigates. Like if they play Adventure, obviously they can have the Griffin, but still this can banish their entire board if they don't. So they're forced to just keep the A-Rise Heart, which is just 1 interruption on the table. And then Skill Drain, I think it's just really good going first against decks like Flunderies and also against the Cashier deck, just shutting down their effects and then, beating down with Dark Destroyer. Extra deck, just 1 Crimson Blader, because when you have Fenrir and an Effect Veiler, you can actually make Crimson Blader, and it does shut down your opponent's normal or special summons for level 5 or higher monsters during their next turn if this destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard. So it can come up against tier limits. It shuts off their fusions for the rest of the turn, the following turn. Against Flunders, you kind of have to destroy something to send to the graveyard, so it doesn't work if you destroy a bird. But if they happen to have like an extra deck monster on the field for whatever reason, you can potentially go into it and just like prevent them from tribute summoning for the following turn. 2 Zeus, just because we are playing Pot of Extravagance, and I think Zeus is like one of the more sane monsters that you want to use in your extra deck toolbox. So just having less of a chance to banish both is better. Downer Magician to pair with the gigantic play that we were talking about previously, as well as the rank 1 Lyrilisk assembled Nightingale that you can do with 2 tin cans. And then we're playing the rank 8 package, so if you have 2 Dark Destroyers, you can go into Cypher Dragon, maybe steal a monster, or just swing, make full armor Photon Dragon pop a card, and then make Cypher Blade Dragon pop another card. Or you can go from armor Photon Dragon into a 4 material Zeus. Wallow to pair with the Bystials when you set them in, and then Codebreaker Virus Swordsman because we need a way to get rid of Baguska. It's really, really annoying for this deck, so 2300 is nice. Dark, the Dark Charmer Gloomy for summoning back stuff. Cerberus as well for destroying the Baguska, punishing players that forget to put in the extra monster zone. And then Lina just to pair with like a bunch of lights that we have, like Veiler and also Nib, and Elf to go into that play to revive. Strawman to go into Gigantic and then into Zeus like we were talking about previously. So yeah, that's about it, guys. If you guys like this deck, let me know what you think. Rate, comment, subscribe. It's, it's competitive, but I mean, it's not like super. You're probably not going to win a YCS or a regional with this, but maybe, it could definitely top locals, maybe even top regionals if you make some tweaks here and there. But yeah, I just want to showcase some fun decks that, get the creative juices flowing after this new set comes out. So if you guys have any suggestions, let me know. And rate, comment, subscribe, like, and leave a comment. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.